gender wage gap measures the income disparities between both men and women who work full and part-time. It affects everyone all over the world, not just in the US, and it's something that women's centers and women's-centered organizations help to bring a lot of awareness towards. And a lot of the time, this awareness is specific. It can be towards a certain company, overseers, directors, or just the general public and a community that might see higher wage gaps. There have been many instances of such protests that we see a lot of the time through universities that directly affiliate with women's centers and organizations. One example in the US would be the University of California at Berkeley, and we see it in the UK at the University of Reading. The American Association of University Women is a nonprofit organization that works with over 800 universities all across the US and Canada. The goal of this program is to advance gender equity through research, education, and advocacy. This organization holds an event every year where they meet with the National Conference for Collegiate Women Student Leaders, and it's 3 days of leadership training, inspiration, and networking, where they really want these students to see disparities throughout their communities. A direct affiliate with the AAUW is the University of California. This conference was held at the end of May, early June, and after this conference back in 2020, the University of California, the Berkeley campus, went back and immediately began protesting within 2 months of attending this, and they were protesting wage gaps. They were calling out corporate bias against female employees, which have resulted in such a strong wage gap between men and women and a lower employment rate within their community. These protests went on for days, and it made headlines all across the state, and I think that's a huge deal. I think that really shows the effects that women's centers can have in inspiring people to participate in spreading awareness of the wage gap, because it can be seen as a myth in some cases, which it's not. It's real. The numbers are real. University of California, all their locations are also extremely fortunate enough to each have their own women's center. So through the AAUW and Women's Center, these students are very strongly equipped to create change and spread awareness. The University of Reading is an extremely prestigious school in Reading, England, and they recently had a conference where they presented the Gender Pay Gap Report for 2021. They found that the mean gender pay gap between men and women was 22.07%, up from the 20.64% in 2020, which is outrageous. How is it going up? This obviously caused complete chaos throughout the viewers that were at the conference, and they knew that everyone who wasn't there needed to hear this knowledge. This couldn't just be kept within the conference that they were attending. So a lot of women met within the next few weeks with the Women's Center and saw what they could do. They decided that mass protest was going to be the most effective way. Reading is an extremely busy city in England, and the protesters found that if they sat down in the middle of these busy streets, they would definitely be making a scene, and they needed to be, because they needed to get the attention of their whole community around them. I think that while women's centers serve as a safe space for students on a campus, I think they're also sort of supposed to make you uncomfortable. You see these topics that are so heavy, like the wage gap, which have been worked out for decades. We still haven't seen the full change that we want. I think that women's centers are supposed to ignite this fire in students to become an activist and an advocate and a knowledgeable human being to the rest of the uneducated world. And the wage gap is such a critical concept because it's been around for centuries. It hasn't been fully changed yet, which is a problem. And I think that even though college activists who are speaking on this, they haven't necessarily experienced the full effects yet, it's important that they are aware. And it's thanks to women's centers and organizations bringing awareness to that they're going to be an ally for change.